Hey everybody, welcome. We are super pumped to have you on our live Google Hangout tonight, where we're going to chat about all the things to make you feel sexy, vital, and healthy. And I have one of my awesome paleo amazing gurus and celebrity chef, Pete Evans, with us. So welcome, Pete. I'm so excited you're here with us today.
G'day guys, how are you?
Good, good. Have you ever done a Google Hangout before?
No, I'm not really very tech savvy, so we just hooked up the connection like a couple of minutes ago. So no, first time. I'm new to this. I'm a virgin.
Oh, good. Well, there's first time for everything. So, the things that I wanted to really dive deep into first was I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I want you to share with the tribe, with everybody here, a little bit about your health journey, because, it's very easy for people to kind of look at someone like you and go, oh, well, he's healthy and he's vibrant and he's, got clear eyes and clear skin. It's easy for him. But can you just take, for whoever doesn't know you on this call, can you take us back a little bit and just give a little bit of a nutshell version of your health journey and how you got to where you are today? Because I think that's really nice for people to hear.
Sure. I was born with respiratory problems, and as a kid, I wasn't the healthiest of kids, constantly getting tonsillitis, constantly sick. And I just thought that was a normal part of growing up as a kid. And through my adult life as well, bad digestion, bad skin. And it got to a point where it was my late 30s and my skin, I'd always have these sort of flaky skin through here and also here. I'd always have skin just some sort of dermatitis or some sort of eczema or something happening with my body, and would always keep flaring up, and then it would keep getting worse, and my digestion was always a mess pretty much my whole life. And it wasn't until my partner Nick was reading Nora's book, Primal Body, Primal Mind, and she said, you might want to read this. And I read it and it made a lot of sense. And then we adopted it into our lives. And the rest is history. As soon as I finished the book, I emailed Nora and said, listen, this has worked for me. We gave it a few months to see what would happen. And the health benefits were fantastic. First thing I noticed, apart from how good we felt after the initial detox period, and my detox was a couple of months minimum, and I'm probably still detoxing now 4 years later, to be perfectly honest, because each year as I've gone along this journey, I've become stronger and healthier. So you don't expect miracles to happen overnight or in a couple of months. I mean, if you're thinking about looking after your health, it's a lifelong journey now, if you make health your priority or one of your main priorities. So I learned a lot. Before that, I thought I ate pretty healthy. I'd say I was an adventurous chef. I'd have muesli in the mornings, like a lot of people, or whole grain toast, and I put avocado on it with tomatoes, and my muesli I'd be using soy milk. I was never a huge dairy fan, even though I loved cheese. Cheese was one of my biggest regrets of giving up, I guess, because I just loved it. But I can tell you what, I'm 1,000% better without ingesting that anymore into my body. And as soon as I took out the grains and the legumes and the dairy from my diet, my skin cleared up. And now when I do eat things, say on My Kitchen Rules, 2 days later, maybe even a week later, I get the flare up. My skin starts to get flaky. But luckily I don't have to eat too much of that stuff, but it's amazing straight away. Even yesterday I filmed for 12 hours, and some of the dishes that I had to try weren't in my sort of normal paleo lifestyle. And I wake up today and I feel it. I really do feel it. And how to describe it? I'd say that I was probably running on 50 to 60% energy today, whereas normally I wake up and I wake up 100% ready to go. And that's how I can gauge how food can have such an impact on my body, But here I am. I know I haven't got all the answers, but so far so good. It only took me 40-something years to work it out.
Better late than never, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting how, you know, the more clean we become, the more sensitive we are to those foods that we no longer have in our life?
Yeah, we've got a 10-week program, as you probably know, the Paleo way, and we've had tens of thousands of people doing it so far. And it's amazing. One of the main stories we hear from people is they give up the grains, the dairy, the legumes for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, and then they're out somewhere and they try a piece of whatever they used to eat. And it's nearly immediate for them to get into that state that they were in prior to this, which is why they wanted to go down this path, where they're cramped over, they're looking for a bathroom, they get headaches, the next morning they feel like they're hungover even though they haven't had any alcohol. And it's amazing, and that's a clear tale sign that something is amiss, that if they ingest that food, and I'm not talking about this for everybody, but certain people should probably start with what I recommend is paleo lifestyle as a starting point. You know, I'm not going to say paleo is perfect for everybody. There's a lot of people with autoimmune issues and they might need to take it a little bit further, so to speak, and look at autoimmune paleo. Or healthy eating, however they work it out. But I tell you what, it's a pretty good place to start with.
Well, it's just eating how our ancestors ate. You know, it's just going back to how our great grandmas ate.
To a degree, I definitely think we have to be clever about this, and we have to use a bit of common sense. I mean, we're living in 2015 at the moment, and you know, the world is quite vast and large, and to pinpoint what everybody ate in all the different locales around the world and all the different indigenous tribes over the last couple of million years would be you know, ludicrous to even think about what was a normal diet, because everyone varied, but there are some consistencies, as we know. The consistencies are that, or the constants are that they didn't eat a diet high in processed food. They didn't eat a diet high in sugar or refined sugars. They didn't eat a diet high in grains as well. So what was left? And this is where paleo comes in perfectly, because it sort of strips out, I guess, a lot of the modern day invented foods, so to speak. And what's left? I mean, we, like my dinner tonight, good quality fats, small amounts of meat, you know, and I'm sure they pigged out on good quality meat and good quality fats, and hunted and gathered as many herbs and spices and roots and shrubs and whatever it may be to fill their appetite. And what's fascinating is when we go to a supermarket or a market these days, even though we think that there's a huge array of foods to choose from the research that I've done, our ancestors or indigenous tribes used to eat a far more varied diet than what we do at the moment, whether you're paleo or not. So I'd love to see in the future, especially in this country or the country where you're watching this from at the moment, that you investigate what is local, what were the indigenous tribes eating or still eat in this part of the world, because obviously that plant or that animal thrived and flourished here. So let's start paying a little bit more attention to what actually is growing in our backyards.
It's a great place to start. And I, like you, you know, my journey 6 years ago, I fell really, really sick, and I had eczema all over my face. I had acne. I had a whole heap of thyroid issues, chronic fatigue. I had high levels of mercury, vitamin, mineral deficiencies. I had so many health issues, and I ended up in hospital. But it took me a really heavy wake-up call for me to change my life. I think if I didn't have that wake-up call, I would probably still be trashing my body and treating my body very unkindly. So it took me quite a big wake-up call for me to change course. And one of the first books I picked up was Nora Gagaudis' book as well. I found myself in a holistic gym in Bondi Junction called Origin of Energy 6 years ago. And I saw all of these people adopting this paleo way of living. And I was like, what is this thing? Like, why do these women look so healthy and strong, and they're eating bone broth? And at the time I was a vegan and I was so unhappy, unwell. I'd lost my period and all sorts of things. But, you know, something that people ask me, do I have to hit rock bottom like you in order to change my life? And what would your answer for that be?
You know, I never push this on anybody. It might seem I do, but all the information I share is through my social media. So everyone has a choice whether they want to jump on the social media and see it if they like. And it's available to the cookbooks, of course. And if someone, like today we're doing an interview, I'm happy to do an interview. But I never want to push this on anybody, because everybody has their own journeys. And some people are happy to do what they want. I'm getting an echo back. So some people are happy doing what they like, and others might need a little helping hand. Whereas others, like you said, will hit rock bottom. And, you know, what can I say? I needed to do this for myself. Did I hit rock bottom? No. But I could see that for me, I wasn't in a place that I was happy in. And what food or diet is one element, right? And there's a lot of emphasis at the moment that food is the be-all and end-all, but I can tell you it's not the most important part of this whole package. And I look at it as a package, or tick the boxes. You know, you need to have good quality relationships, either at home especially, and at work if you're working, or whatever social group you're in. You need to have good quality sleep. You need to make sure you're loving yourself and doing the things that you love to do. You know, and for that, everyone is different. You know, and I'm not going to say go and do CrossFit, because for me that doesn't make me happy. You know, I just got out of the surf with my daughter, and I try to do that as often as I can, or with both daughters, because that makes me happy, and I'm trying to give them a glimpse of a wonderful sport that hopefully they can do for the rest of their lives, and maybe teach their kids, because it brings a lot of joy and a lot of peace to a lot of people that do it. And most people that learn to surf end up doing it until they're in their 70s, 80s, hopefully even 90s. And it's something that I want to be able to do so I can surf with my grandkids one day. So we look at the package, and food is vitally important. But I tell you what, you can eat all the paleo food or clean food in the world, and if some of the other things are a little bit out of whack, you know, you're still going to suffer from disease or irritability or lack of energy or whatever it may be. So how do I explain this? I see food as the simplest of the package, so to speak, I see food as one of the ingredients for the recipes of life, okay? And it's the most tangible of all of them that people can put into practice each and every day. Because unless you're a child or an invalid, you get to choose what you eat each and every day for each and every meal. No one else makes that decision for you. So if you want to get your life on track or improve your health or all the elements of it, you know, then the food is the simplest, I think. Because it doesn't take a rocket science to grill a piece of fish or thread a bit of meat on some skewers and pan fry it and put a salad together, or cook up some broccoli. You know, it's pretty simple stuff. You know, make a bone broth. You know, it takes 5 minutes of preparation, and then you've got enough for a week after you've simmered it for a day. If you want to make some fermented vegetables, seriously, it takes 15 minutes tops, and you'll make enough for a week or two for your family. So I always say start with the food, because it's the easiest. Start off simple with the food. And a lot of people, this is what I love about doing this. And I remember that Jamie Oliver was so instrumental in getting people back into the kitchen enjoying food. And that's something that I get the most, I guess, joy out of from my job. And my job is a chef. And my job is to take, I guess, the information we've learned from Nora and others in this world and put it into beautiful recipes that hopefully people will be inspired to cook. And some are simple and some are a little bit more inspirational. But the one thing I love is when people say, you know what, I've got my mojo back into the kitchen, or I've never had confidence in the kitchen, but I've tried these recipes, and you know what? It's fun, because you can't really do this unless you spend time in the kitchen, unless you're filthy rich, which not many of us are, where you can employ someone to cook for you every day. You know, and I love cooking. Like today, I've cooked two beautiful dishes. I cooked a duck and salad, and just then I cooked a beautiful zucchini noodle thing with some chorizo. You know, and both dishes, one cook took me 15 minutes today, and the other one took 5 minutes tonight.
Beautiful. And you know what I love, one thing I love about you so much and your program and my program, Get Your Glow On, it's a holistic package. And yes, food is an amazing place to start because it is the most tangible, like you said. But you know, in your program and in Get Your Glow On, it's about looking at every area and element of your life, and that's so important. You know, they're all as equally as important. But one thing I wanted to ask you, oh, sorry, what were we going to say?
Well, I think once you want to get your glow on, as you say, then you want to love yourself, because it's basically what it comes down to, is wanting to look after yourself. And there's many reasons for that, and it has to be selfish. You know, you have to look after yourself if you want to do the things that you want to do, and whether that's to be there for your children or your grandchildren or your partner and be available for them to share love or whatever it may be, you have to look after yourself and you have to love yourself. And by doing that, you have to nurture yourself, and food is that tangible thing that it's a choice. At the end of the day, you can eat sugary treats, you know, because obviously you might be craving some sweetness in your life because you're not getting it from your relationships or your work or your purpose that you're here for. You haven't worked out what you want to do. So if you're not making wise choices with food, just think about why you're not, you know, and I'm sure you go into that with your program.
Exactly. And the first element in Get Your Glow On is called Flex Your Self-Love Muscle. So there is an entire element dedicated to self-love. And they always say you teach what you most need to learn. And this is something that I really need to learn. And I had depression and an eating disorder 6 years ago, and I had no idea what self-love was, and someone handed me Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life book, and they just said, read this and you know, you will sort yourself out. And I read it and I was like, I have no idea what self-love is, but I know I need to get it. And I embarked on this journey, and I committed to working on myself. I committed to wanting to be the best version of myself for me, and it is so rewarding. And when you show up to the world as the best version of yourself, you can give to other people. But if you're not looking after yourself and nurturing yourself and nourishing yourself, you're essentially showing up to the world, to your kids, to your partner, to your family as this cranky, shitty, half-assed version of yourself. And I know personally for me, I want to show up as the full version of me, and I know you do too.
We're working on it.
So I wanted to ask you, you know, because I have a 9-year-old stepson and I know you have 2 beautiful daughters. How do they embrace your way of eating? You know, is there any rebelling? Because this is a question that I get asked a lot. Is there any rebelling? Is there, no, I don't want to eat, you know, zucchini pasta, daddy, like I want the real thing or whatever. So is there any rebelling, or how have your daughters embraced this way of eating and living?
To be completely honest, we've never made a big deal about it.
Yeah.
We've never made a big deal about it. We just cook food, and we invite them to come into the kitchen sometimes. I'm a chef, and I really don't want my kids to follow in their dad's footsteps, because it's a hard job. It's a bloody hard job. But I want them to be aware of where their food comes from, and to be aware of the work that it takes to put a meal on the table, and then the work it takes to clean the plates and stack the dishwasher or whatever it may be, set the table. So the kids, you know, I want them to be kids as well. They don't live in a police state, that's for sure, not here. Do they eat beautiful food? For sure. Do we make a big deal about it? No, we don't. I mean, Nick and myself, Nick puts lots of love into the kids' dinners when she cooks them, and I do the same thing. And it's we eat basic food, really basic food. Well, kids love a roast dinner, roast chicken. You know, they get excited over that. We do some crumbed fish with almond meal or macadamia crumbs or sesame seeds. They get excited over that. On the weekend, I bought some sashimi, put it out on the plate with some avocado and cucumber with some tamari. The kids get excited over that. If I can buy them some salmon roe, that's their favourite treat. You know, but it's expensive, so I save that. We get it a couple of times a year because it's $20 a jar. They get excited over scrambled eggs. They love to crack the eggs and whisk them, and you know, they'll put the parsley or the coriander and the salt and pepper, and they'll help me make it. And they like their bacon cooked. But I always make sure that there's a little bit of fermented vegetables on the plate, and there'll always be some greens on there. Do they struggle sometimes? The other night the girls struggled because I gave Indy and Chili some beetroot hummus that we made, and there was some left over, and I said, okay, girls, you're going to try this tonight. And Chili loved it, who's my oldest daughter, and then Indy, she struggled, and she had half a teaspoon of it. You know, she doesn't like beetroot yet, but she tried it, and we didn't make a big deal out of it. But has there been rebellion? No, because we don't even talk about paleo. We just cook food. We're just normal parents with kids, and it is what it is. And we pack their school lunches with meatballs or chicken cakes with lots of vegetables or boiled eggs and good quality hams and things like this. And they order from the tuck shop once or twice a week, and they get a juice. And the girls even have some sushi twice a week. You know, they're eating white rice. I don't have an issue with it. You know, I've tested myself for it, and rice is very inflammatory for me. It's something that it's not good for my body, but the girls, that's their treat. So I never really make a big deal about what my kids eat, because I don't want them to grow up fearing food, or, you know, we just eat this food. And they do the same thing at their mum's and their grandparents' house. And I mean, my mum cooks paleo. She's been paleo for 3 years. My ex-partner, Astrid, she cooks the kids paleo as well. So it's pretty simple stuff at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that in all of your books. It's really simple. It's not about, you know, a gazillion appliances, and, you know, literally anyone can open any of your books and dive into a recipe and, you know, eat it and cook it and immediately feel, you know, light and vibrant and healthy. And that's what I love about them.
And I'll tell you what, like the kids on the weekend, their favorite treat is an icy pole, and they make it. And it's Rochford's probiotic, blueberry probiotic thing. You buy it, I think it's $20 or something, and it lasts you for months. Put a bit of that in there with some beautiful filtered water. You freeze it, and they've got like a blueberry icy pole. They go nuts over it. And Nick makes really beautiful cookies that are grain-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free. Sure, they've got a little bit of honey or maple syrup in it, or yak syrup. And like today, we went to Orchard Street, I should say, and we buy a beautiful smoothie, and we get one of their little chocolates as a treat, you know. And the girls, that's fun for us all, you know. And they don't, put it this way, they don't miss out on anything, you know. They get an abundance of love. They get an abundance of support. They get abundance of connection from everybody that's helped our tribe in raising these children, and they teach us a lot. And I tell you what, they're excelling in school, and they're excelling in sport, and they're very social, and they probably could have hooked me up with Google Chrome quicker than I could have.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my little 9-year-old munchkin shows me how to do things on the phone and the computer, and I'm blown away. So it's very cool. So let's chat about, you know, feeling vibrant and healthy, and for someone to make a couple of easy shifts, you know, over the next couple of days, what would your top three things be that are really digestible, that people can make to feel sexy and vital and healthy within themselves?
I'd write down your goals, your priorities. That would be a good step. where do you want to be in 5 years? How do you want to feel? Not so much how you want to look, but how do you want to feel? You know, do you want to have the energy to go out there and do the activities that you love? I mean, the biggest thrill I get as well is when people share their paintings or what they've done on the day, where they said, you know, 6 months ago I wouldn't have been able to get out of bed to do this, and now they're doing the things that they love to do. They're running half marathons or full marathons or whatever it may be, doing yoga classes. So I guess the ignition is for you to work out why you want to get healthy. What are your goals? What do you want to be able to do in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years time, depending on how old you are? You know, I've written my goals down up until I'm the age of 100 or whatever, and I'm getting myself into that space so that hopefully everything still works. I have a maintenance program with different chiropractors or therapists, emotional, spiritual, physical, and keep chipping away, peeling back the layers and finding out who you are. So work out what you want to do, I reckon, would be the first tip, and why you want to do it. And then I'm sure you outline it in your program. But for me, the most tangible, as I said before, is get informed about what food does for your body. You know, as I said, everybody's different. What works for me, I mean, I'm quite happy to eat eggs and nuts and seeds, but other people, it might be inflammatory food for them at this point in time. So look into healing your gut. And if you don't research it yourself from good sources, great sources, then you might get confused. And Nora Gagaudis is a wonderful resource, and her book Primal Body, Primal Mind covers a lot of ground, and it's not an easy read. A lot of books are dumbed down these days for, I guess, appeal, you know, whereas I would rather get down and dirty with someone that's done the hard yards to explain it to you in a way that, you know, intelligently explains it to you. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I respect people that have dedicated 10, 20, 30, 40 years of their life to researching a topic, and for them to communicate it in a way where it shows that they've done their research and they're not trying to dumb things down. So Nora's a great place to start with her book, Primal Body, Primal Mind, and also her blogs and websites. There's so much information out there. Because once you're informed, it makes it easier to make wise choices. Because then when if you ingest something or eat something, your body will start to talk to you properly and tell you what's going on. And my third thing would be, I'd start meditation if you never have. You know, take some time out for yourself. Do something that you love, whether it's 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, or in the daytime. Just have some quiet space for yourself. And that could be as simple as walking to the park and sitting under a tree and just enjoying the view of kids playing or the dogs running around or whatever it may be. I think that is so often overlooked in today's society. Taking a little bit of time out for yourself. I do it when I go for a swim at the ocean, and I make sure I try to get to the ocean every day. I'm lucky enough that it's a 5-minute walk from my house. But if I haven't been in the ocean for a week, I can feel it. And for me, that's my spiritual bath, as we call it, and same with Nick and my kids. And I try to get in there every single day, no matter whether it's cold or beautiful, because for me, I know that energizes me and calms me. And so, you know, if you're scared of the ocean, then find a park or find a hill or find a cave or whatever it may be, or find it in your garden or on your balcony or in your lounge room. You know, find some space where you can just zone out and think about what's important.
Beautiful. And so is your form of meditation, like, do you have a formal practice, or is surfing your personal form of meditation?
I do I never do the same ritual every day because my schedule's so out of whack with all the different projects that I do. So I have a device that I put on headphones, and I've got some lights, sort of strobing lights, that puts me into a great state very quickly, a meditative state. So I do that sometimes, especially when I'm on the plane. I find that's a powerful thing. As I said, I like to swim, or I like to surf, or sit on the rocks. Transcendental meditation is wonderful. I've studied about 4 different types of meditation in my lifetime. So I go from one to another, and sometimes it's just listening to classical music, which I love. Some people like to do those colouring in books to sort of close out, shut their mind down a little bit and focus. And I don't want to tell anyone what to do, because I don't feel that's just like anything, I don't want to force anything on anyone. But put it this way, there's a lot of different modalities out there, and different therapies, or different ways of calming your mind down, which work out which one works for you. A lot of people do yoga. A lot of people do the mantra when they meditate. So find what works for you. Yeah. It's an adventure, you know. I like variety. Yeah, exactly. That's my thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of dive deep into my program. I give a lot of different ideas of how people can, you know, find that moment of stillness in their day. And, you know, I practice transcendental, and I also listen to guided meditations, and, you know, but every day I do something else. You know, I might go and sit in a park and or dive in the ocean, because those things allow me to connect within and make me feel really, really good. And I'm all about doing more of what makes me feel good and less of what makes me feel crap.
Yeah, even simple breathing exercises for a couple of minutes are wonderful, you know, just to relieve stress or anxiety, especially if you're going through a patch in the day where things aren't going well for you. And we all go through those periods. So I just learned a wonderful breathing course up on the Gold Coast, actually, with a guy called Nam. Breath enhancement training. He trains all the big wave surfers, and I like to surf big waves, and I'm fearful of drowning, like majorly fearful. So I went and did his course, and I'm going to continue to see him, to one, conquer my fear, and to just become comfortable when I'm in that situation of big waves and shallow reefs, because I love my sport of surfing big waves, but I'm not physically the fittest person in the world. So I'm working out how to expand my lungs and not panic.
Sounds awesome. Let's chat about fear for a minute, because you know, we all have that fear-based voice inside our head, and I refer to it as the mean girl, and for you it's the mean man. And that's the voice that says, you know, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not fast enough, you're not successful enough. And we all have that voice inside our head. How do you navigate your way through fear, and how often does it come up for you?
To be completely honest, not really anymore. Drowning in the big waves come up a few times lately, because I pushed myself into an area that I probably wasn't ready for just yet. But fear doesn't really, I don't know. 20 odd years ago, I did a course with Anthony Robbins, who's a motivational speaker, and Unleash the Power Within, or Awaken the Giant Within, or Unlimited Power, or some of his books and courses. And one of the big things he talked about there was facing fears. And ever since around that time of the age of 19, when I did that, I mean, my whole life has changed on what I wanted to do and how I wanted to, I guess, not attack life, but navigate my way through it. And we learn simple, I guess, techniques for facing fear. One of the things we did on his 3-day weekend, or his 3-day course, was to walk over hot coals. It's a wonderful metaphor for life and for facing your fears. But negative patterns are probably something that we need to look at probably a little bit more. I mean, whether you call it fears or negative patterns that have built up over time, I see wonderful therapists called kinesiologists that work with a modality or a therapy called neuro-emotional technique. Wonderful stuff. And they can help unlock negative thought patterns or negative belief systems that we have in ourselves, that you may not even know that you have. But when you're in with a great therapist, you sort of realize pretty straight away what that issue may be that you want to, I guess, strip away. We're like an onion, you know, we many layers, and we can start to peel away some of these layers to work out who our core self is. Because as we grow up, we inherit different belief systems from our parents, from grandparents, or our minders, or from school, or from encounters, or from different activities that we do. So, and some of them are positive, and some may be neutral, and some are negative in the long run. So if we hold on to those things for too long, they sort of dictate who we are in the world. And I've been working on this for over 20 years and trying to strip away different negative belief systems that I've had. And I'm not saying they're bad or they're wrong, but they're definitely ones that have held me back from being who I believe I should be, so to speak. So I'd recommend that as another tool for people if they're interested. It's non-invasive. Basically, a therapist will ask you a question and you answer it. So they're unlocking your answers. You know, they say the best doctor is the one that will listen the longest, because you'll end up telling them what's wrong with you and how to fix yourself if you've got an issue. So, and when you're ready, the teacher will come. So, exactly. I mean, that is something that has worked for me in the past, and I can highly recommend it for people that are open to it. You know, and that's another thing. Are you open to face some of your negative belief systems?
Absolutely. Now, can you tell us a couple of other practitioners or healing modalities that have helped you on your journey?
For sure. Going back, I think reading is a beautiful practice and a beautiful pastime or hobby, or because if you think about it, someone has spent maybe a year to 10 years to put together a book with their philosophy or their belief systems or things that they've learned over a lifetime, and you can digest that, whether it be in an hour or maybe 8 hours, depending on how thick the book is and how in depth it is. You know, some of them might take a little bit longer than that. But I'd recommend read as much as you can on the topics that matter. I was speaking to a good friend today who's a businessman in the organic business. And, I suggested he reads a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and it's a book I read 20 years ago, roughly, or 15 years ago, and it was about how to run a small business so that the small business doesn't run you. You know, and this is what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs, is that they end up creating a job for themselves that they can't. They end up working longer hours for less money and with more stress. So all I'd say is, whatever you want to improve in your life, start researching and start reading as much as you can on that. And don't just believe one person, you know, start implementing some of these philosophies into your own life. And you'll know the ones that resonate with you because they'll jump off the page, you know, and you might want to highlight them so you can go back. But you'll just have that aha moment, or your intuition will kick in, or your gut feeling will go, you know what, I'm glad I read that book or read that page or stopped to listen to that podcast or whatever it may be. Because the universe is always giving us clues and giving us answers, whether we know it or not. So just be open to receiving information, because it might be a chance encounter with someone on the street, you know, like your friend gave you the Louise Hay book. So don't disregard someone tapping you on the shoulder and saying, you know what, maybe you should read that, or maybe you should go to this event, or maybe you should try this. Because usually that's the universe coming to give you a sign. And some people, it might take 4 or 5 or 10 different things tapping them on the shoulder. And it might end up being, you know, when you hit rock bottom, that you discover that maybe if I had have taken some of that advice a year ago or a couple of months ago, then maybe I wouldn't be where I am now.
Exactly. And what are you reading at the moment? What's on your bedside table?
I'm off the books at the moment.
I am no longer reading.
I'm out. I'm having a spell. Over the last couple of months, I'm actually slowing right down, because I've been going really quite hard in all my pursuits over the last 4 or 5 years. I've had my head down and my bum up and just going 100 miles an hour. And I've recently said, you know what, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to not be lazy, but just step away for a little while, and spend as much time as I can with my kids. Actually start watching a little bit of Netflix or something like that. I'm watching American Horror Story at the moment. I'm loving it. For me, one of my passions is watching really good movies or really good directors of film or television. And I'm giving myself that time to delve back into that world, because I think that in the future, there's something that's going to draw me into that world. And I always thought when I was about 50 or 60, I'd probably start dipping my toe into making movies. So I'm giving myself a little bit of a treat at the moment. So.
That's really nice. It's really nice. And any other, healing modalities that you can recommend? You said reading. I personally do kinesiology as well. And I think it's an amazing healing modality, and things like acupuncture, they're all supportive. They're all really helpful and really supportive. But like you, I agree that there has to be that deep willingness from deep within to live your best life and to be the best version of yourself. Otherwise, if if that willingness isn't there, it's almost like you're kind of wasting your time and your money. So you have to really have that yearning to be the fullest version of you. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing we haven't talked about today is the intent, and your intentions, or what. We have touched on it, but intent is a very, very powerful word. And for whether it's acupuncture, kinesiology, whatever it may be, if you go in there with the intention that you want to evolve or grow, so to speak, I don't really like to use the word heal, but I like to use, to grow, whether it be physically, spiritually, emotionally, however it may be. You have to have that willingness, and Nick's taught me a lot about intention, and there's some wonderful books out there on intention too, and I think that's very, very powerful. But to answer your question about different modalities, wow, I have very rarely have I had to see a medical doctor, and I'm not discounting them, because what if I was in a car accident or something? I would not want a naturopath stitching me up. No disrespect, but I want a trauma surgeon or somebody that can help in that situation. And I have a lot of respect for GPs and medical practitioners from all walks. But I've been quite lucky that I haven't really needed to see too many over the last couple of decades. But who I have seen is naturopaths. I've seen massage therapists. I've seen Bowen therapists, Rolfers, which is another functional movement modality. Practice yoga, done bar classes, Pilates. Yeah, but I like to mix it. I love to mix it all up. So we've talked about massage, and Bowen therapy is a wonderful therapy that was invented in Australia. And if you've never heard of it, give yourself a present for Christmas and go find yourself a great Bowen therapist. And just, what else is a kinesiologist, as we've talked about? Good dentists. I've got a dentist that's a kinesiologist, and he's changed my life, and he's a very dear friend of ours as well. His name is Tony Ancestral. We just went to his 60th birthday party. He's a cool cat. He's in Wallara if anyone's interested in seeing a wonderful dentist. There's different energy healers over the last couple of done wonderful healers as well. Tracy up at Ruart Lodge out of Tweed is wonderful. Rudolph Eckhart out of Bondi Junction, who's written a book called The Truth About Love and Fear. Now that is a book that everybody should read, and if you get a chance to see Rudy, he will open up your mind to a whole different realm of what is possible, and goal intentions, setting your goals and really working out what is holding you back. And it's always you. It's never anyone else. You know, I don't talk too much about this sort of stuff, even though I just have to, however many people are watching this. I just say find what works for you. That is going to a Robbie Williams concert, the energy, Fleetwood Mac, you know, that is a form of energetic, you know, could be a different type of Wanderlust, for instance, that's a yoga festival and music festival. You know, some people like that. I like to talk to really intelligent people that are smart, far smarter than me, and get their guidance and help them unlock different parts of who I am. But I like that. But that's not to say that it's for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly what I teach in my program. It's about, you know, trying all different things and finding what resonates most with you, and then playing with that. And then you might do that for 6 months or 6 days, and you might move on to something else, and then that will resonate with you. And it's just about flowing and following what charms you most. But I wanted to ask.
I don't think. I was just going to say, I don't think there's a formula. I think it's something that people their own, with a little bit of guidance, and again, it's just that intuition and synchronicity. Up, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And so where do you find, when and where do you feel most inspired? I mean, do you wake up every day feeling really inspired and, you know, inspiration flowing through your veins, or is there times when you feel more inspired than others?
It's interesting, because I was terrible at school, but I didn't really enjoy it. It was probably the least favorite part of my life so far, because I didn't really understand why we were learning all that information. It didn't really resonate with me. High school, and I couldn't wait to learn. You know, imagine if everyone learned how to cook 20 nutrient-dense dishes by the time they left school. Everyone learned how to breathe properly. Imagine if everyone learned how to meditate or massage, you know, just simple stuff that actually can. Imagine if they learned how to garden. You know? There's some really powerful life skills that we aren't taught properly at school. So, how do I answer your question? I'm not sure. How do I get inspired? For me, it came about when I wanted to work out who I was. You know, away from my parents, I guess, with who they thought I was, or different members of my family. I think when I really thought about it, I wanted to know who I was, you know, and that inspired me. And I mean, it's a lifelong journey to work out who you are, and I'm still finding out different things about me, which is fun. So I guess I inspire myself. You know, I mean, that might sound a little bit strange or a little bit egotistical, but I do. You have to inspire yourself. You know, you can't rely on anyone else to inspire you. You know, because you're setting yourself up that you need someone else to do that for you. It should come from here. You know, but where do I find it? In everything. You know, I get inspired just walking down the beach. I got inspired yesterday looking at the clouds, you know, and pointing it out to my kids. Saying, look at how beautiful that is. You know, it's just, you know, that's inspiration. As far as my job goes as a cook, I got inspired from, you know, today I saw Donna Hayes' new magazine, and I was like, you know, she's talking our language, you know, in her latest edition. And I was like, oh, let me see what she's doing. And I was like, wow, this looks really good. So I bought it, and I want to try some of her recipes, and who would have thought that Donna Hay would be inspiring me to cook health food, but I'm open to it, and I don't want to judge anything or do anything, but I also wanted to celebrate and support her because she's going down this path herself. I was like, wow, good on her. Give her a clap. The more people that are doing this, like yourself, and I'm still amazed that in this country, in Australia, there aren't too many well-known chefs, high-profile chefs pushing this yet. But it's interesting. I've had a couple of very high-profile chefs approach me in the last 2 months, and they're both, two of them are doing my program at the moment, and both of them have nearly lost 10 kilos. Will they go public with it? I don't think so. but that's cool. That's completely cool. I don't need their endorsement of it. But it's wonderful. But I can't wait for more chefs to jump onto this bandwagon. I'm looking at what Jamie Oliver's doing in the UK, and he's been an inspiration for me for so long, and I've just seen what his latest work, and there's a lot to be inspired by that. There's also he's working with the UK Dietary Commission, or the Dietetics Association, and there's a lot of information there that he's pushing out there that may not be 100% correct at the moment. So it'll be really interesting to see where he goes with it in the future, because I'm a huge fan of his. And if there's anyone that can change the way people eat in this world, it's Jamie Oliver. But I just hope that everything that he's talking about now is accurate, because he is very influential.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as are you. And, one of the main reasons why I have you as one of the bonuses in Get Your Glow On is because I feel like the whole program is about being your authentic self. And I love that about you. And Nick, your beautiful partner, and everything that you put out into the world, it's, truly from your heart, and it's genuine and it's authentic. And, I want to surround myself personally with more and more people like that. And I just think it's so amazing what you're doing. And, for those people who sign up to the program, Pete is one of the most amazing bonuses in the program. And we filmed that ages ago, and it was amazing. But is there anything else you want to add to, inspire people to feel their most vital and healthy before we kind of wrap up?
No, first I'll say thank you for the glowing praise. You didn't need to do that, but I'll take it. Find out what works for you. That's all I'd say. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit out there. There honestly is, and maybe what I'm talking about is not 100% for you either. Work out what rocks your world. I see a lot of people stressing their bodies out with exercise that really isn't doing a lot for them. I see a lot of people starving themselves and counting calories and eating foods that really aren't going to give them great long-term nutritional benefits. And the same thing with the fitness, long-term fitness benefits. I see a lot of stress put on people to achieve, to get the six-pack or to get that body or whatever it may be. And there's a difference between healthy and sculpted, and there's such an emphasis, I think, these days on with the younger generation. I have parents telling me, what do I give my 15-year-old teenager because he's on protein shakes every day? And it's like, and because they want that six-pack, they want that big chest, and they're 15, and I worry for their health, because a lot of that stuff isn't really good for you, and a lot of punishing your body isn't good for you. You don't see animals in the wild doing crazy exercises. They're either hunting or they're playing, or they're resting, or they're going from one spot to another. And we are animals, and I find it ridiculous a lot of the time, the things that humans do to ourselves, mainly with fitness, because it's crazy. And I think, I think moving your body is very, very important in a way that doesn't stress you out. And that could be as simple as going for a swim at the beach, or a walk in the park, or maybe whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it's something we promote in our program. I mean, I work with Luke Hines, who's a personal trainer, and I chose Luke to be my fitness guy for this, our 10-week program, because he's the first one to say, you don't need to do any of my exercises to be healthy. He goes, all you have to do is eat well. If you eat well and just go out for a walk and maybe do a stretch here or there, that's it. And that's sort of my philosophy on it too. But if you want to sculpt yourself, then you're probably going to have to do some hard work in the gym. Yeah. I got a chin-up bar, and I love to do 10 chin-ups or pull-ups or whatever it is, and a couple of push-ups a day. That's the extent of my workouts. But I never get to a point where I'm exhausted because.
Yeah, exactly. I used to flog my body at the gym, and it just produced more and more cortisol and made me more stressed and more heavy. And no matter what I did, I couldn't lose, those stubborn kilos. So it wasn't, for me, my exercise now is, and I teach this in Get Your Glow On, it's all about moving your body from a space of love, not from a place of fear and hatred of what you actually look like. It's from, it's about moving your body because you love the way it makes you feel. So for me, personally, it's yoga in my lounge room, usually, just in my underwear or swimmers or whatever. It's a walk in the park, it's a swim in the ocean, or, a bar class. But gone are the days where I would flog my body at the gym, with back-to-back classes and, running on the treadmill for 45 minutes, with the vision of some sort of Victoria's Secret model in my head. And you know what? It's what a lot of women do, and I'm sure men do too, but it only produces more and more cortisol in your body. And in turn, you can't lose that weight. So this is exactly my philosophy as well.
And if you eat well, cook well, then you'll have more time to do the things that you love. So, I'd invest in cooking time, and I've got to say, you can't do this, as I said before, without jumping in the kitchen. So get good at it.
And if you don't love it, fall in love with it. Find a way to fall in love with it. Get back in the kitchen. It is such a beautiful gift to give yourself.
I had it yesterday, sorry to interrupt, but a lady in our tribe, she said that she put on Neil Diamond to cook to, and then Crowded House. And it's something Nick and I do all the time, is we put music on. And music is, it's a wonderful energy, and putting that on while you're cooking. I always say put the best music on. Even when I worked in professional kitchens for 20 years, I mean, I used to torment my staff with 80s pop because it was, for me, it was happy and uplifting, and I want that energy while I'm cooking. It makes time fly. You can sing, you can dance, and it's good fun. So put some music on that you love.
Absolutely. Well, I am just beyond grateful to share this space with you, to have you share with my tribe and vice versa. I'm so grateful for everyone who's jumped on this call. If you guys want to get Pete's bonus and Get Your Glow On, I'm only leaving this open until tomorrow night. And if you sign up tonight, I have 2 bonuses as well. I'm offering my meditation series 1 or 2 for people to sign up to, and there's some guided meditations. And I've also got another really amazing bonus. One of the elements in Get Your Glow On is about taking out the trash. It's about removing the toxicity from your life in every area of your life. So removing it from your food, from your relationships, from your products that you use in your house and on your body. And I've teamed up with Nourished Life, which is I'm not sure if you know about that, Pete, but Nourished Life is an organic, natural online website where they sell skin and beauty and hair products. And whoever buys Get Your Glow On tonight will go into the draw to win a whole beauty makeover. So all you have to do is take a photo of your makeup bag, and they will replace it with the organic, toxic-free version, which perfectly complements the take out the trash element in Get Your Glow On. But which is amazing. So I'm, again, so grateful to have you share this space with me, to get your message out there. I've absolutely loved chatting with you tonight and sharing this space. And like I said, you know, I don't say those things lightly, but, you know, you can feel your authenticity and how genuine you are, and in everything that you do. And that's what I love about you and Nick, and everything that you put out into the world. So I'm super grateful.
Well, we're all unique and we're all beautiful, and we're all here for a purpose. And I think you just mentioned that you're taking out the trash. I've got to take mine out too because it's bin night tonight, so I'm going to go do that. The recycles. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and enjoy your life. That's what it's there for.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.